It is time for an update on the polls. So I'm going to look at the general election, how it looks in the Real Clear Politics poll average and 538. And I'm also going to go state by state as well for some of the more battleground states in this election. So first, I just checked out these links. So this is all, I'm discovering this as you're discovering it. Right now, the Real Clear Politics polling average is Biden ahead with plus 9.6. Now, I didn't realize that this has been a dramatically great week for Joe Biden. This is maybe one of the biggest spikes we've seen. Biden going right up here. I know it's only a couple points, but in the grand scheme of things here, polls don't move all this much that quickly. So you see here Biden jumping in support while Trump dropping off. There is a clear about 10-point gap now between Biden and Trump. Before I get to 538, let me check out some of the state-by-state matchups here. So Florida, Biden leading by 3.7. There was a recent dramatic drop-off here for Donald Trump anyways. But looking pretty good there for Biden right now. Let's check out Wisconsin's been pretty close this entire race. Biden leading by 5.5 points. How about that? Big gap there. What else? Let's see. Let's try Michigan. 6.7. Biden leading by. Now keep in mind, Hillary at this point in time was around leading by about 2 to 4 points in each of these states and nationally. So Biden's lead is considerably more than Hillary's was. And also keep in mind that a lot of the support for Trump back in 2016 were a lot of people who hadn't voted for a while and who were inspired to vote for Trump because he was not your typical politician. This time, a lot of the Democratic voters that did not come out in 2016 because they assumed Hillary would win are, I think, a lot of the voters not being counted in many of these polls as people that are unreliable voters. So polling largely relies on reliable voters. So I think it's possible we're seeing Biden's numbers here are actually lower than they are in real life. That said, of course, all of this is just how the race stands right now. Things can change. And of course, people have to actually go out and vote, and the ballots have to actually be counted. That's one of the issues with Trump and his fear-mongering around mail-in balloting and the potential that he could try in some way to stop the counting of the mail-in ballots if he is leading on Election Day with in-person voting. But all things considered, if everything's equal, I am confident that Biden would just sweep this race. Let's check out a few more states on Real Clear Politics before moving on. Let's do North Carolina. Sure. Don't expect this to be for Biden, but you never know. There you go. Biden leading in North Carolina. 1.4. It's been fairly close, but recently again, Biden seeing a big increase. Let's do one more here. One more. Iowa has been closer recently. Let's check Iowa. Biden leading in Iowa by almost 1.5 points. We don't have a graph, but there you go. Unless it's down here. No, it is not. Just a bunch of ads. Okay. But there you go. So let's take a look at 538. Biden leading by about, I just saw 10. 9.5? Nope, 10.1. Biden leading by 10.1. And again, you're seeing recently about since the first debate and since Trump getting the virus, Biden increasing his lead and Trump decreasing. Understand how rare this is. Usually in the last month of a race, the polls tighten up. People are undecided voters become, they're bouncing back and forth between both candidates. Here it seems they're making up their mind and it's going in one direction. So Biden continuing to increase his lead nationally. Of course, though, state by state is what matters the most. Let's take a look at some other states here. For the hell of it, I just want to see Alaska. There you go. Trump leading, not by much, but he's leading by 4.5 points in Alaska. Alaska is always a weird state to me. It's basically in Canada. Don't they know what they're missing? Like, right next door to British Columbia. Don't they see universal health care and wonder why they don't have that? But then again, it is, more of a rural state, so I understand that part of it. But still, let me check out Georgia. How's Georgia doing? Look at that. Georgia, Biden leading in Georgia by over 1 point, 47.7 to 46.3, 1.4. 1.4 point difference. Let's check Iowa here as well. Biden leading by a point. How about that? Texas. What's Texas saying? Trump leading in Texas by 1.7. I mean, this is amazing. I do think in this case, Bernie would be doing better. He had incredibly strong Latino support in Texas. Still, Biden is within striking distance here. One more. Who should we do? Wisconsin's been pretty close, but I already checked it out. Ohio has been actually really close. Look at that. Biden barely leading in Ohio by 0.9. All right. Look, I covered these polls to give you an update on the race. This is not to discourage you from voting, to make you think that, Biden has this. No, he does not. It is important to get Trump out, to have Biden in, and then we can begin to have the real debate that I want to have, and that's democratic socialism versus neoliberalism. That is the debate I'm looking forward to next year, and this time, it's obvious what Biden's about. This is not a hope and change candidate. Biden is not running like Barack Obama. He's not fooling the progressive left. People know from the beginning who Joe Biden is. There is already a built-in movement against Joe Biden from the left, meaning once Joe Biden's in, we can get the game rolling and really begin to grow this movement and have people in Congress that are also on our side pushing for the various issues that we want to see implemented. You have AOC, Rashida Tlaib, all the Just Democrats in Congress pushing for that. Bernie Sanders was vocal against Barack Obama when he was going to cut Social Security. I imagine Bernie's going to be vocal again, as he's discussed as well in interviews, that the focus right now is getting Biden in, and then we can have a discussion about all these various issues. I expect Bernie to also be on our side, having that fight in public for a better world for everyone. So look forward to that. But of course, first, got to get Trump out. Make sure you're voting. Get your mail-in ballots in. If you're voting in person, which I suggest if you can, vote in person early. But stay safe, wear a mask, be as physically distancing as possible. Make sure you're very safe if you go and vote in person. But the reason I say that is because any funny game that Trump's going to try and pull, it's going to be because of the same day election result. So if he's leading on election day with in-person voting, it doesn't mean he won, but he may try and claim victory, and he may try and stop the count of the mail-in ballots. So if you can vote in person early, do that. If you can't, no worries. If you voted by mail, no worries. That's also great. As long as you vote in this election, get out the neo-fascist.